Welcome to this episode of the Dynamic Thriving Podcast. I am your host, Mary Ann Pack, spiritual medium, author, publisher, and joy advocate, guiding you into all things life transformational. And in this series, I'm interviewing published authors who are spreading more love and joy in the world with their stories, with their books, and with their work. So in this episode, I have a guest, Suzanne McColl, who is with me. Welcome, Suzanne. I appreciate you for being here.
Thank you, Marianne. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes. I am so glad to have you because you have also published a recent book, and we're going to find out why Suzanne decided to write this book, what was the purpose, and how it impacted her life as she put this baby book out into the world to provide more love and joy and worthiness. So there's a little teaser there. So Suzanne, let's just jump right in. And who is Suzanne and what good do you bring into the world?
So I am a psychotherapist and I work with women of all different walks of life who, are struggling in their lives, and help them to feel better using EMDR therapy, which is the kind of therapy I use. And that's kind of my mission, which, it changes a little bit over the as we go, how I'm doing it. But that's kind of who I am. I believe in personal growth.
Yes. Can you explain a little bit about EMDR? Did I say that right? Did I have the numbers right?
No, you're right. A lot of people will say EDMR, it's not an easy thing. But it stands for, which is also not easy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy. So EMDR is much easier.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a kind of brain-based therapy, tapping into neural pathways. It's based on the understanding of how trauma gets stored in our body, and how emotions get stored in our body and memories, and that creates kind of who we think we are. And tapping into that, and when we're not feeling happy, if you tap into your past experiences and process them, that's what we do with EMDR. It helps to release it. And because talking sometimes isn't the best pathway to get into those deeper emotions. I know you must know that as an energy medium specialist. So there's different ways of helping people, and that's what EMDR is. It's kind of therapy.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that you have all these different tools. It's not just trying to talk your way through it, but there's actual physical, practical tools that people can tap into. I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
So you've written a book, and I want to hear all about it. Let's, tell me a little bit about the book that you just wrote.
Okay. So it's called Reclaiming Self-Worth, the 5-step method to releasing limiting beliefs and feeling worthy. And basically what it is, it's sort of like an ABC of how to take that journey of letting go of things that are not making you feel good, and allowing that feeling of self-worth to just naturally come back into your sense of self. So it talks about, it's from kind of an EMDR perspective, I call it. It's about like how we learn to have thoughts and beliefs about ourselves, how to be able to figure that out, and that to know education, to know that can change, that we can change our beliefs, and we can heal from things that have happened and create new, more empowered beliefs. And it gives people strategies to do that, like cognitive ones, like we're saying, like thinking strategies, but also sort of more brain-based strategies that tap into like who your highest best self is, and creating new neural pathways so that you can really start to feel and think better about yourself in a more natural way without having to work so hard at it.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah.
I love that. I love that that again, you've got these tools, they're practical things, because sometimes we think of, self-worth or, our self-development. It's kind of like out there ethers. How do you bring that into real life? So I love that you're offering within this Reclaiming Self-Worth book that they're offering people practical things, practical tools, so that they can open up to a greater self, a greater person of who they really are, who they're meant to be, and their purpose and their love for life. So I love that. I usually say that our mess is our message. So, this is what we tend then to write about or talk about or teach or coach.
Yeah.
So, what kind of was the mess that you worked through so that you could present this to the world in a very open and sincere and even sometimes vulnerable way?
Yeah, it is. It is a vulnerable thing because you are so much putting yourself out there. It's really, I think that we almost all have like maybe one core issue we have to work on in life. And we're just, continuing to peel the onion. So for me, it's really been self-worth. I was raised in a very large family, 7 kids. And, individual attention was really hard to come by. We had my father was a drinker, and there's like family secrets, and you take on that feeling of not being worthy, like there's something wrong with me.
Yes.
And there's like all different little things that I realized I interpreted, that way, that I wasn't as good as other people. I really had to try to help everybody in the family and be good, be quiet. So I really didn't have my voice. I really didn't learn my voice. And so throughout my life, I would have experiences where I realized I didn't feel good enough, whether it was jobs where had a really hard time speaking up, feeling like I was worthy and deserving to have my input, or relationships, being very quiet and not really thinking that what I needed was important. So I really had to do all my own work on that. And then when I was a therapist, and that was great. And then I thought of doing more, and all my self-worth issues came up. And I remember when Dr. Davia said, "Do you want to be part of our anthology?" And I wrote a chapter. Total self-worth issues came up. And so writing this book has been writing itself has been a process of owning my self-worth and struggling with it.
I love that you bring up about, I usually refer to it as, indoctrination. We're just little ones coming up, and, parents and siblings and society and culture, maybe religion, just pile on so much that we start taking that on as truth. And it's not true to who we are. It doesn't resonate with our souls, and we end up muting ourselves. And this so coincides with my recent book, Unmuted Voices, because so many stories in there of the women that are in that book talk about finding themselves in an unsafe space, so they had to mute themselves. And it's not always just our voice. It's not always just that can't speak up for ourselves, because sometimes some of these stories, were that they could speak up for others, but not for themselves. And it's just how we express life. We get so muted and so squashed down, and all our bubbly, joyful little selves, knowing who we really are, gets squashed and quelled. So I love that you bring that out, that we do find, we do find ourselves muted at different times in life. Somewhere along the way, we're going to find ourselves muted, like you said, either in relationships or in our work. wherever it happens to be, there's going to be moments where we find ourselves muted. And so I love that talk about this even in your book, because it is a lot to do with our self-worth.
Yeah.
If we don't know who we are, that we are worthy, joy-filled beings, we're gonna pull back from life.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna squash the life that we really, really are.
Yeah.
So timing is everything, I think. And so why was it important for you? This is not that long ago that you published this book. It was in the last, several months?
It's September
Yeah. So,
2022.
right. So, why was it important? Why did you feel like it was calling you now?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it has to do with those muted voice kind of idea.
Hmm.
I wanted to write a book my whole life,
Mhm.
but I never really knew what I would write about. And so when the pandemic happened and I started getting involved in these networking groups and trying to clarify who I was, who I am, what is my brand? What is my message? I started to had to think about it a lot, and I was very confused. I wasn't sure who I was in terms of that. And so it became important to me to get clear about that for my
Mhm.
self-worth,
Mhm.
and I was trying to market myself more in a different way as somebody who was a speaker, but I wasn't clear about who I was. So I had to get clear. And I think that was the timing why it happened. The clarity of what my message was, I had to start kind of writing stuff out and exploring it. And it became really clear that to put this all in writing would be very helpful. It'd be helpful for me in terms of marketing who I am, which was a big part of it. And it just became important at that time. And I think it was my self-worth journey.
Yes.
Like I had already proven that I was good at what I did. And now I was moving to the next thing. And it was just time. It was time for that, to get clear about my self-worth and what my message was.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of just felt that urgency, like,
Yeah. It felt urgent. It felt like an urgency.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think those are those callings that we have.
Yeah.
It's the inspiration to do this particular thing at this time. Just as you said, we pivot and we change through our businesses and what we do, maybe how we do it, but that underlying calling of who we're meant to be in the world is always there. So yeah, we do. It's definitely a calling, I think,
Yeah.
to produce a book, to go through all of that, to actually finally come out and get it published. So what are some of the gifts that this writing process has provided for you, in bringing your message to the world? How has it impacted you?
Well, first of all, it was a self-worth journey in writing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it helped me to feel more worthy, to understand what my voice was, and I had to put it out. Like, I mean, when people were editing my book, that was scary.
Oh.
When it, and then when it was going to be published, that was scary. It's like this idea that people are going to really see what I'm putting out there. So it was a journey of getting more and more confident in letting go of the fears, So that was really helpful. And it helped me to have like something that I could like share with people, and got really clear about my ideas of how to feel better and how to heal. And I could talk about it. It gave me the opportunity to go places and do talks. And I'm doing a self-worth talks show. It's like an avenue for me to reach more people and to be seen as somebody who has something to say, has something to share with the world. So
Yeah.
it's kind of really helping me to help other people more in a bigger way.
Mm-hmm.
And also just to grow. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah.
what it's all about. But yeah, I think that's kind of like so far, because it's only September. It's not that
Right.
long
Oh,
ago. It's
yeah.
6 months.
Yeah, it will continue to evolve. That's for sure.
When I did that anthology,
Mm-hmm.
it was the first time I wrote anything about myself.
Oh,
And that was the first time I thought, wow, I mean, everyday people have something to say
yes.
about self-worth. And that was really life-changing,
Yes.
and a message that I want other people to know also.
Yes, absolutely. You were talking about, it's kind of a scary thing to actually put it out there into the world because people are going to read what you actually wrote.
Yes.
And I remember Elizabeth Hill, Greenheart Publishing, who published your book.
Yeah.
She is my mentor and taught me what she knows about publishing so that I could begin my own Envision Greatness Press. And she warned me because she helped me walk through that first book publication. And she said, many times our authors get a little sick right about the time that they hit publish, that they
Yeah.
get ready to go publish. And I will say I've published 6 books so far over this last year. 5 of them are mine, and then one was for another client. But those books were almost each time there was a little bit of not feeling good in my physical body because my nervous system, it was just so much
Mm-hmm.
to go through,
Yeah.
that my nervous system just kind of was screaming, we're not sure if we can handle this
Yeah.
yet. This is a lot to go through. So I get that. That's always something that we have to understand. There's that possibility that when it's time to hit publish, it can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah. 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 It was hard for me, and it still is. I was telling people last night, I tell people, and a lot of people echoed this, like, I wrote a book and this is what it is. And I'm always on one level want to say, but don't read it. It's not good. Like, it's that fear, it's that putting yourself out, and people, I just think it's part of being human.
Yes. Yes. Can you tell us just a little bit more about the book and what it has in it? Or
So there's 5 steps, right? And it's
Mhm.
called the build method, right? Because the first, like, this is the process that I think I went through, my clients go through, is believing that you can feel better, that it's possible. There's got to be something, because change is not easy. There's got to be something that motivates you to take that plunge in whatever way you're going to do it, and sometimes you have your own memory of an experience where you felt amazing. And so it's possible. Like, that was kind of my thing. But sometimes it's other people tell you it's possible, and you just feel so bad you have to believe it.
Yes.
So believe. Understand is the you. Like, you got to understand how do we develop our sense of who we are? How do we develop our beliefs about ourselves? Like you said, we come into this world like a clean slate, and then all this stuff, either it's indoctrination, or it can be comforting too, about, that we learn who we are. And then identifying, the chapter about helping people identify what are their beliefs, what are the beliefs that are holding them back. And I teach them how to do a float, like how to look at what their thoughts are now, and kind of floating back in their life to where that came from. And then the learning how to release it, how to let it go, how to have strategies to kind of move on and shift it. And whether that's those imaginal visualization type exercises I teach, or thinking about it in a different way. And there's a little bit about emotional intelligence, because we have to be ready to just feel our feelings. And that's part of the process. And then there's the learning. Oh, I already just talked about that. And then the doing, because if we don't practice all of this, we have to kind of monitor. Oh, there I go again.
Yeah.
Thinking about like that. Okay, I'm going to shift. I got to let it go. Let's go this way. So that has to happen a lot until you build all those new neural pathways, the new identity. It just kind of naturally happens after you keep working on it. And then you feel better. I mean, it's kind of like and you might need to do it again, but that's kind of what the book is about. And it's got a lot of my quotes from my clients, which really are just so good to me.
Yeah.
People who have learned and grown and let go of stuff.
Yeah, I kind of like how you said that, even about sometimes we have to hold on to what other people see in us, where we don't see it yet. And so we almost have to borrow their belief for a while until we can actually start believing it ourselves and work through it. And the letting go, the build. I love acronyms. Those are some of my favorites. It just helps me remember the system better.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how are you using this book now to spread more love and joy? I mean, is it giving you opportunities, to speak more, to you talked about it being, helping in your business, that yet we shy away sometimes. Oh, but don't read it, but we do want people to read.
We do
read it, so how is this kind of helping in your business? How are you using it now?
I'm trying to use every opportunity to be able to go and talk about it to people, to help them do book talks, to help them understand, how they can feel better, like that it's possible. So I'm doing book talks. I'm using this as something like when I talk about imposter syndrome with people a lot, which really is just, self-doubt, lots of self-doubt. So, and that is very much connected to how that comes about, is what I write is part of what I write about. So I use that as a way for people to take the first step, just to kind of educate themselves a little bit about it. Because that's sometimes knowing that you could think differently, and getting that education makes a big difference. So, that's what I do. And I'm just really trying to really do more speaking to help people understand what I talk about in this book. And also to tell people that writing is really amazing.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that process. Can you touch on that just a little bit? Because the writing process is always typically it's a very healing event.
Yeah, it's like you start to write and it's not always easy. So you have to get support to make yourself do it. And then if things seem kind of like messy, and then you get feedback, and then you get clearer, and you get more feedback, and you get more clear about it. And it really helps you to get more clear about who you are and what's happened in your life, and where you're going. I think it helps you get in touch with your best self. It's like your best self that you're uncovering when you write. It just brings you a lot of joy to feel like to do it. There's just something about that process. I know Liz Hill talks about that too. It's like the process of putting things on paper into words. I said to somebody, it kind of elevates your life, who you are, when you put it in writing like that. So I don't know. I can't say enough about the process of writing, and it makes me want to do more. I've been doing some articles and publishing those, and I just want to keep writing. It's a good feeling.
So you actually started your first endeavor into becoming an author was in an anthology for Ladies Power Lunch,
Yes,
correct?
it was.
Which book was that?
Success in Any Season.
Mm.
It was during the pandemic. It was probably 2020, late 2020, in October maybe that it came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was probably for the Ladies Power Lunch, the fall summit.
Yeah.
Yes. And so in mentioning Ladies Power Lunch, this is a group that Suzanne and I belong to. It's a free Facebook group. So you can search Ladies Power Lunch on Facebook and you'll find it, and you're invited to join, because we have one rule, and that is that we intentionally support each other.
Yeah.
So the group that is there, the nucleus, is just amazing women. And if you followed my podcast at all, most of the people on my podcast have been Ladies Power Lunch members. And our leader is Dr. Divya Shepherd. So I want to shout out to her, because I would not have met Suzanne had it not been for Ladies Power Lunch.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so we've known each other for a couple, 2-3 years, maybe. I don't remember, but such a joy. And I just, I want to offer a way for everybody to get your book. And this is your website, Suzanne McColl, LLC.com. And so where can they find your book on your website?
There's a tab on the top that says books. Or book, I think it says. And so there's a whole section just about the book, and a link to buy it. It's on Amazon. So
very good.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more, since we have a few minutes, about your YouTube channel. You have a self-worth YouTube channel or something?
It's called this. It's Suzanne McColl LPC. It might be EMDR expert, it might be whatever, but it's all about the self-worth talks at this point. And so what I do is I interview people from all over the country about, from the perspective of self-worth, what do they see when they're working with, how do they get to where they are? Mm-hmm. What do they see when it comes to working with people? What are the, obstacles in terms of like what holds people back? And what kinds of advice do they give people? It's so much fun for me to talk about, these ideas, these topics. It's like every topic you can think of, recovering from divorce or branding yourself, which is so much more than I would have really originally thought it was. And, what else have we talked about? Communication in the workplace, substance use over the holidays. I mean, like just little, whatever topics. All of these topics are so relevant to self-worth.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that you have different voices, because somebody they may not resonate with this story or this interview, but this one over here they do.
Yeah.
Because that's just like the Unmuted Voices book. Everybody's story is so different, but yet they all end up in hope and joy that if they did it, so can you.
Yeah.
If they found their voice, so can you. And in your case, all these people found their self-worth. They understood it, and so can you.
Yeah. And they did something good in the world.
Oh, yes.
As a result. Yeah.
Yes. I think that's a natural outflow. I think once we realize who we really are, just living our lives can create that ripple effect out into the world, because the energy shifts. Mm-hmm. We're presenting and pre-paving our life differently than when we were, self-doubt. So it's a totally different energy. And I think we naturally start coming around to that we want to be of service. We want to help. We want to be helpers, teachers, healers, in whatever form that takes. It may not be that you may not go into that field of profession, but just simply even living your life changes lives.
Yeah.
That example.
Yeah. It's how you live your life, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you, Suzanne. I so appreciate you. This again is her website. It will be in the show notes for your convenience, the link. And her book is Reclaiming Self-Worth. And look for her book on the website. And I also want to invite you, if you have a nudge that there's a book being called through you, because that's how it is. It's being called through us, and you want to, put that work out into the world, your words, because they are bringing more love and joy, more peace, more clarity into the world. Be sure and get a hold of me through envisiongreatness.com, my website. There's a link in there that you can follow to explore publishing. Maybe you're not ready to write a full-blown book and you want to be part of an anthology, which are individual chapters or the stories of the people. That's what Suzanne was talking about. She wrote a chapter first. She didn't go into the full-blown book first. She tapped her toe in the water by writing a chapter. And so there was that, taste for becoming an author. And this is important. Our words, our unmuting our voices, whatever, finding your self-worth, whatever is your mess that became your message. And there's that book being called, or a chapter being called, or maybe you need ghostwriting. I do that too, where I interview you and I start writing your book for you or your chapter. So there's help. There's all kinds of ways to become a published author. Maybe you have an idea for a book and you have another author you want to write with. So you want to co-author. There's all these different kinds of options of becoming an author, becoming published, and sharing your gifts with the world. So be sure and visit our website, envisiongreatness.com. And again, Suzanne, I want to put up your website here. Do you have any parting words of wisdom you would like to leave our audience with?
I just think don't hesitate. Just jump in and get the help you need, because you just will grow so much. And that's where you feel joy. And there's always somebody that can help you.
Absolutely. We all need that support. We're not lone rangers out here. When I wanted to publish my first book, I turned to Elizabeth so that she could help me. And she walked me through that and encouraged me to start my own, printing impress so that it could be my series. Maybe people have an idea for a series and they just want to start. Just start. Get a hold of me again at Envision Greatness Press, and let's explore publishing, because my mission is to write the world happy, one word at a time.
Ooh, I love that.
So I thank you, Suzanne. I so appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And remember, you are joy, looking for a way to express. We'll talk to you next time.